We have reached our finale, although calling it a finale is somewhat misleading. By the end of this episode, a few loose ends will be tied up, but in some ways our story will just be getting started. In any case, we hope you have enjoyed this series of pocket-sized play. I'd like to thank the players who were involved, Yoshi, who played Serina the Vampire, Philip, who played Jonah the Queen, Kevin, who played Margot the Werewolf, and Fraser, who played Lilith the Fae. And an extra special thanks to Fraser, who did all the editing on these episodes. I'd also like to thank our Patreon supporters, without whom we would not be able to create things like this. If you yourself would like to become a Patreon supporter of The Gauntlet, go to patreon.com/gauntlet. And so, without further delay, here is episode 11. Enjoy.
I don't know. Where am I? He looks, he's got this gun in his hand. He drops it. He's like, and he looks at you. He's like, did you have something to do with this?
Mr. Thompson, whose blood is that?
He's like, I don't know. And then like, you'll hear like a little, like up ahead, you'll hear the little boop, boop of a cop car, right? Just as a quick reminder, there are cops up ahead.
Oh shit! I hear that, and I turn and I look at the car coming, and I'm gonna scurry away behind a tree or a bush or something.
What about Mr. Thompson? You take him with you?
No.
You don't? Okay.
I don't. He's covered in blood. He had a gun.
And I think he sees you run away. He's like, Jonah, wait. And then like, I think like a cop car like pulls up like after a few moments later, and they're like, Mr. Thompson? I think it's like a young cop who used to be like one of his students, right? And then like as that scene plays out, they'll arrest him and take him into custody.
Yeah, I just watched them arrest him, and that little exchange. I'm like peeking through the leaves of a bush.
Serina, you went to max harm, so
yeah.
I will let you choose how you come back. I think you can either ditch all your strings or you can go into darkest self, right?
Got strings that I don't really care about. I mean, like I care about them, but not like super amount.
Right, yeah. Not stuff you can't get back, right?
Right. Not stuff I can't get back, but I think it'd be more fun if I actually went darkest self. So I think I'm going to do that instead. Not because the strings are things I want, but because I think it'd be more fun to be darkest self.
I'm into that. Let's read the darkest self.
So my darkest self is: everyone is your pawn, your plaything. You hurt them and make them vulnerable for sport like a cat does with a mouse. Maybe you'll even drain them dry, though you'll certainly take your time first. You escape your darkest self when you've been put in your rightful place by someone more powerful than you.
What do we see on screen? How do you live? How do you survive? I think you probably have to like get away before the cops come, right? I mean, that's
right. Yeah. So like I think maybe like I get shot and so it's my blood everywhere, but like it's sort of like presumed that I'm dead, but like after like a moment of like Mr. Thompson gets out of the car, so it's like that snap back to the camera and you see like Serina sort of like cough up blood and like her eyes like go completely like black, so she has no pupils anymore. You can see like there's something different, and maybe like the wounds, like the gunshot wound, because it clears all the harm, like you can just see it like kind of like closing back up over like where it was, kind of like reach a hand up against like the bloody window, and like you see like the hand like smear down as I like unlock it, so like my blood is like on my hands as I like throw open the door that is there. I get out, but like it's like a purposeful walk, and I think at that point like see like the footprints of where Mr. Thompson was, and so like I'm like stalking him back. I think it then cuts to like where you see Jonah looking at Mr. Thompson getting arrested, and then like it just sees like Serina is even further back looking at Jonah looking at Mr. Thompson getting arrested. And so like I think after that point, like I know I can't go against the cops, so like I think I'm gonna just be like slowly stalking Jonah as he walks away type thing.
Nice. Margot, big man, you guys are sitting on the stoop, right? Smoking cigarettes. You've had a couple at this point. And he points over to that hole, that cave mouth. And he says, You wouldn't think much about that, would you? If you wandered over here, you might think, oh, there's a bear in there, hibernating for the winter. Maybe you'd walk right past it, and you'd never give it another thought. But maybe you'd go in. Would you go in, Margot?
Take another long look at that hole. You can see me taking another deep smell. I'm like, I don't think there's anything in there. Why would I go in there?
That is a perfectly reasonable answer to the question. I went in. You want to know what I found when I went down in there?
Please, I would love to know.
I found the beginning of all things. There's something lives down in that hole, Margot. Something that's been there for a very, very long time. Thousands and thousands of years, I reckon. And it is unknowable. It is perfectly alien. It cares nothing for the machinations of men and fairies and bloodsuckers and wolves and witches and ridiculous nature cults. It cares nothing for such things. It doesn't even understand such things, and I don't understand it. We can never understand it. But the one thing I know for sure is that it is true. It is the truest thing that has ever walked upon the face of the earth.
Is that why you called me a lie? Because you've been in there?
To some degree, we are all lies. But in particular, those who would try to tame this place. They are the biggest lies of them all.
Can we, go back now?
Oh, yes, we're going to go back. And you're going to go to school next week, and you're going to act like none of this ever happened. The cops have their suspect. He walked right into their hands. But I know the truth of it, and I'll make sure they see the truth of it. If you do anything in the future that I consider to be uncooperative behavior, do you understand?
What, so you think I'm your bitch now? Just because you have that hold on me?
He stands up. He looks even taller than before. He looks even more imposing. And you feel this, you see his shadow, stretching long, and it reaches into that hole, right? And it's as if his shadow is, connected to that hole, and you can feel just, pure, unbridled energy coursing through him. And he says, yes, you're my bitch.
See me kind of, just freeze and maybe even kind of almost looks like I shrink a bit, kind of cowed by that power, and then the matter-of-fact way that he just said that.
He continues back the way you guys came, and he says, sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. You gotta fight lies with lies. We're gonna cleanse this place, Margot.
You hear me muttering to myself, what the fuck is all this shit? Trying to say that quiet enough that he doesn't hear me, but I just I can't just walk along quietly after getting all that dropped on me.
You eventually lose sight of him, really quickly, even.
Oh, I look down and look up, and he's gone. Do I recognize where I am at all in the woods?
You can eventually navigate your way home.
All right, I am gonna try to head back towards my trailer.
Yeah, you can. You'll get there eventually. Let's go to Lilith.
I jump into the water, the same pool that I went in to pop out the other side, kind of thing. Another Doctor Strange twirly thingy.
I think you don't get very far before you realize there's a crime scene.
Oh, shit. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. I guess I'm gonna try to, slink away from that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Just do keep your cool. Keep your cool.
Okay. 4.
Mark an XP. You just walk into a cop. You're trying to slink away, and there's this cop, and he's like, He's like, hey, hold up there. Did you just come out of that water?
I think initially, actually, she thinks it's sort of like Big Man. It's going to be Big Man, right? Like just like last time she was running away, and then she bounced off of him, kind of thing. So maybe it's the same kind of thing. So I think she just started screaming. Yeah, right at him.
And he's like, whoa, hold on, and he just grabs you, and I think that gets the attention of some other cops, and they're just gonna they're not gonna arrest you, but they're gonna throw a blanket around you and get you a cup of coffee and question you.
Yeah, she's gonna play dumb and fragile and teenager victim type thing. I think.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh God, I don't know.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, Jonah, where do you go?
I'm trying to walk through the forest, kind of away from all that, and I'm trying to keep my distance from the road.
And Serina, you're following Jonah?
Oh yeah, I'm stalking him. I kind of as soon as he gets far enough away from the road and the scene, I'm definitely going to do that the tropey I'm there right next to a good distance away, but you just see the flash, the blink of the eye, and I'm just moving way faster than I should or whatever it is, but it's only when I'm hunting something or things like that, and I'm just on Jonah, and I think I'm gonna lash out physically because I'm just gonna not even try to seduce him. It's just trying to feed on him.
Oh, you're just gonna jump Jonah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump Jonah.
Nice. I'm into it. Go for it.
I fail miserably. I got a total of a 2.
Okay. Jonah, what do you think? What do you think should happen here?
I think that, she attacks me, but I think I'm going to respond pretty strongly. I'm going to ask my dark power to give me power to put Serina in her place. There's the power that flows through you, and then there's strings attached. I was doing strings attached.
Oh, okay, cool. You can ask the dark power for something. Oh, I see that you really, really want. The MC will attach a price to the thing you want, hint an undesired twist in its nature. If you pay the price, you'll get what you're after. This is going to be one of those situations because your dark power, if it does end up being that dark fae prince, and I don't think we know that for sure yet, but if it does end up being that character's kind of claimed you both, right? In a way. Right? They've put their stamp on both of you. Put Serina in Serina's place, no problem whatsoever. But then I think the dark power wants you to humiliate Serina in some way. Not in a rapey way, just you do something particularly humiliating to Serina, in addition to just physically fending her off, right? Does that make sense?
I think what happens is that she comes down on me and bites my neck, and I think she's feeding on me for a couple seconds, but then my mud swirls, they kind of start glowing green a little bit. I basically reach my hand back, grab her by the hair, and then just throw her. And I think she gets stuck in a tree.
So you throw her into a tree.
Yeah, and I think she's probably hanging by sweater or jacket or whatever by this tree branch and just flailing and
that has to end your darkest self, right, Serina? That's got to end it immediately.
Can I add a little something to your description of the blood? Is I think that might be if we see the camera sees it, it starts out red as it's coming from your neck, but I think it dribbles down to your chest and wherever you have the swirls, and I think it starts to intertwine with the swirls, so you see the blood spiraling in, and as it starts to do that, it turns from red to black, and so you have that two-tone, the mud and the black blood just swirling through there.
And you're hanging and Jonah, I think you're where you're doing that thing where your arms are spread out in front of you and you're feeling your power, right? You're
right.
Kind of hulking out a little bit. And Serina, you're just hanging from the tree. Your darkest self just immediately record scratch stops, right? You're still a new vampire. It's okay. And you still have your wound too. That's the interesting thing, right? You still look I think the side of your head still has a big nasty, wound. Let's just have that scene. RP this out. What happens here?
So I think like when I get thrown into the tree and I snap out of my darkest self, like you see me like sort of like dazed, almost like I'm shaking like the stars. Like if there was a camera and it was a cartoon, you'd see the little birds and stars like floating above my head, and like I'd shake myself, and like you could see my eyes like go from like that pure like completely black back to like they're like light blue that they are normally. And so like I refocus and I kind of like maybe like slump and stand up and kind of like maybe just like kind of like look at myself and kind of like realize what happened. And I look at you and I'm like, what the fuck are you?
And that's when I kind of like look around and I'm like, oh, I'm naked, and I cover myself.
Naked is not what I meant. Naked I know how to deal with. That was not.
You just bit me. And he's like looking at this blood on.
Yeah, and I chuckle and I'm like, that's what I do, honey.
And I think what Jonah does is he like comes over and he like grabs your like boot or whatever and just like pulls you down.
Can we note the irony real quick of like her hanging upside down on a tree when you had that vision of her hanging people upside down on trees?
I don't have all the answers about the one that I commune with.
But you definitely worship something here. Something strong.
In a way, I get a lot of benefits.
I kind of like maybe like with your help, like standing upright. Like I think I trace my finger along like one of the swirls and patterns on your chest with like both the mud and the blood, and I'm like, don't be modest. There's something here that you're doing, and maybe like I think what. Oh yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning towards. Is like I think I lean towards you, and maybe instead of like trying to just slowly like manipulate this situation, so I'm pushing your back up to the tree, I'm leaning into you that way. It's like I bit you once. I told you that's what I do. Would you like to see more of it?
He puts back on his mask and then he exposes his neck, and he's like,
his safety blanket.
You might not like what you taste.
Oh, we'll see. Should I roll turn and
roll turn.
Ah, I got a mixed result again.
You can gain a string on Jonah unless Jonah chooses one of the options there.
Yeah, I think he's giving himself to her. I think that's kind of what we set up.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm gonna go with that.
I will totally like lean in and start like biting down on your neck and feeding, which since this is the first time you've ever been fed on by me, we both get to mark experience. I don't have any harm right now, so I'll take one forward and you won't die.
And do we trigger your sex move here too? Like, are you like Jonah, will you try to like now have sex with Serina?
I think like it's not sex, but I think there is this like physical intimacy aspect to this because I'm naked and she's like on me. So there's like contact at the very least.
Serina has to either accept you or deny you sexually though. So I don't think hers wouldn't trigger in that circumstance.
Right. So mine's not triggering unless you try to make something of it and then I try to stop it.
Stop it, right.
I don't think like there's going to be any kind of explicit sexual advance from Jonah. I think he's just going to be like very sexual, like presenting right now.
Okay. I think that since there's no like advance from you, like I think I'm holding you down, or like holding you not like down, but holding you as I like suck your blood. And I think after a moment, like I'll pull away and I'll just like take my finger along like the side of like your mask and like down your neck to where the blood is, and just like lick my finger to it and like just walk away, like turn around and like walk away as like you're sitting there like with the mask and maybe like slumped against the tree.
I'm into that. Lilith. I think it's a classic, like, you know, they've got a blanket wrapped around you. You're sitting on the rear bumper of a cop car, right? Yeah. And drinking a cup of coffee. and it's early in the morning. You actually see Mr. Thompson arrested in the backseat of one of the cars, and he's like covered in blood. So there's that. And this cop, he's like, he's taken some basic information from you or whatever, right? And then he's like, so you want to tell me what you were doing out there?
I went for a walk in the woods and I got lost, and then I was out here all night after school. I got really lost, and I was so afraid, officer.
Okay. I mean, you were only like a few hundred yards away from the road. You could have just kept going and you'd have been fine.
Well, now, yeah.
All right. Did you see any of what happened last night? Like with the murders, the bodies?
There's a body?
Yeah. There's I hate to be the one to tell you this, but we found the body of your classmate Kyle, and then we found another one of your classmates too, pretty badly torn up.
She starts crying and she grips like his shirt and she's like, "Promise that won't ever happen to me, officer."
He's like, oh yeah. Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And he's like, kind of looks at like his commanding officer, and they're like, we got our guy. Like, we don't need to. We could let her go. All right. Well, and they're like, all right, we'll take you. We'll have one of the cars take you back home. Okay.
Okay.
And I think I'd like to go ahead and fast forward a little bit. We should leave this weekend behind, right? And I think go to like the next day at school. I think that's going to be the right move here. There's going to be a lot to talk about at school, right? Like Mr. Thompson got arrested for murder, and Alan's still MIA to the community, but everyone knows about Dawn, right? Like it's a big like thing. So Jonah, as you're heading out to class, Ben will come out of his house and he'll say, "Hey, Jonah."
And I turn and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Ben." And I pop my collar a little bit. I'm kind of like hiding my bandage on my neck.
All right, yeah. he's like, "Have you heard like all that stuff they're talking about? Like that happened this weekend? Like all that stuff in the woods?"
"No, what happened?"
He's like, "Dude," he's like, "Mr. Thompson, I think he iced a bunch of kids in the woods." He's like, they found Kyle and this, and he's going on. He's like, and he kind of catches himself. He's like, you haven't heard about Dawn?
When he says that, I like look away and like, no, I haven't heard anything.
He's like, oh, look at the time. I'm gonna be late. And he just like leaves.
Yeah, I think like that's when like we're walking up to like the school campus itself, because we're not that far. I mean, it's
you live pretty close.
Yeah, and I think like I get to school and I can just like I'm looking around and I'm seeing like all these people like chatting, and like occasionally people like look at me because they know that like Dawn and I like we are pretty close friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like everyone is like, they're probably going to cancel class, right? Like they're almost certainly not going to let the school day continue. Like, they'll probably make a couple of announcements and that's going to be it. I mean,
and I think that I'm probably not feeling very good right now. Like I probably like want to cry, but I'm like keeping steel faced because that's what I do. And I'm probably just going to like look for the first person I know, either one of my clique or one of these guys, and just like beeline for them.
I think you'll run into Sarah, actually, because Sarah's going to come up to you. There's also Norma's death too. There's a lot of death that happened this weekend, right? Sarah comes up to you and she's like just crying, and she's like, "Oh my God, Jonah, I'm so sorry," and she just like grabs you and she's like crying in your arms.
I'm gonna like push her off me.
Oh,
it's like, get away from me.
That's a shutdown.
Yeah. That's a really bad shutdown. It's like a 13.
Choose one from below.
Oh, carry one forward.
Okay.
I think I like push her, and I think she like falls to the ground kind of.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's obvious that I'm upset, but it's also kind of this impression of like, oh, don't fuck with him.
Right. I think everyone's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's all like really a hot situation, right? Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to everybody else.
I want to be waiting for Margot because I don't even know what happened, right?
Happened
Like
to
if
Margot, right? Yeah.
Lilith like approaches you cautiously and like very much in line of sight kind of thing. No surprising Margot. She'll turn. But she'll like rush up and be like, "Hey, what happened after Jonah and I left?"
Well, I kind of look around to see if anyone else is in earshot, and I'm like, man in yellow,
Shut up.
he took me off into the woods.
She's like, shut up again, and she like hits your arm.
Are you trying to turn me on?
No. She's just like,
being awkward,
okay.
Lilith.
Okay.
Unless that does turn you on. Awkward people are pretty hot sometimes.
No, really. I don't know. He's took me to this cave and told me there's something down there that's like the truth, the only true thing, maybe. And he's somehow connected to it. And he says that I have to do what he wants, or he's going to make it look like I was involved with those killings.
Lilith, you know she was involved in those killings.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah. I think Lilith kind of shudders, and to try to like lighten the mood a little and make you laugh, she's like, does it hurt when you like, and she sort of like mimes you turning into the werewolf all awkwardly.
Does it look like it hurts?
Oh, it
Yes,
looks like
it fucking hurts. Feels pretty awesome once you're turned.
Yeah, you were really scary. I thought you were gonna kill me next.
So what was with the pond thing? And are you and Jonah a deal or something?
Well, I guess I know your secret, but promise you don't tell anyone. But
Tell him what?
I'm not really sure what I am, but I can kind of like go into the forest and there's people there and they talk to me and they're like my real family.
And you see me kind of lean back, and then I'm like, you know what? That's just so fucking weird. I actually think it's probably true.
Promise me you're not going to tell anybody. I understand how
I won't tell anyone. That's just too weird. And I lean in, and you hear me take a deep inhalation. I'm like trying to tell if you smell different from people who don't belong to the family in the woods. Fae have a different bit of otherworldly thing.
Sure, there's
to
maybe
them.
something, even if it's not super obvious, right?
Yeah, real subtle.
Car pulls up. I think it's like a BMW. The kid driving it is someone that, Margot, you don't recognize. Looks vaguely familiar to you, Lilith. But he's a young guy, dark hair.
Is it Suspender Guy?
No. He gets out and he closes the door of the car. He looks like really rich. Like he's got like a Lacoste polo on and like, and he's wearing like loafers, and that kind of thing, right? And Madras shorts or whatever, and he's got like a really nice watch. Very, very fair skinned, blue eyed. He says, "Oh, hey, this is my first day. Can you?" And he pulls out like his schedule, and he like says, "Can you help me find room 182?" And that's your guys' homeroom.
You picked a bad week to join the school.
He's like, "Yeah, I've heard about all that stuff on the news, like out in the woods. That's crazy."
Yeah, things are pretty messed up. I don't even know if there's gonna be school today.
He's like, I'm not going to complain. I mean, I've still got some unpacking to do. My family just moved into town. I'm Thomas, by the way. It goes to shake your hands.
Lilith shakes it super awkwardly.
Margot gives him a real firm hand grip, kind of almost aggressively. I'm Margot.
He's like, well, I guess we better get going, huh?
I guess we'll lead him to the homeroom.
Sure, sounds good.
Hopefully he doesn't die.
Serina, what about you? Getting to school, getting to class?
I think I'm trying to be like just mirror what everybody else's like presentation of like how they're being affected. So like this sort of like shocked type thing of going on, because I don't really need people to think that I know more than I do.
Right.
And so I'll try to go that. But like I think at some point somebody is going to ask me, because like I imagine there's almost like a starburst like scar like above like my eye or wherever I got shot, because we didn't really establish that, but like there's got to be like some sort of like faded scar.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But like it's probably weird because it should be a scar that wasn't there Friday but looks like it's older than it should be, like it's
Right,
completely
yeah.
healed over and
Yeah.
like it's not like a fresh wound. Like I think people will ask me about that, and I think I just kind of like sort of like brush it off like no, I've had that for years, like
Right,
you can
yeah,
tell it's
yeah.
old, like
Yeah, people are like, did something happen to you? Or
like no, I've always had this it's like when I was a kid, like this happened. Like you've seen Harry Potter, it's like that. So like it happened all that time ago.
Nice. Good.
At some point, either like draw on Jonah's desk or pass a note to him, and maybe this is just like in the quotes or like in the closing montage of the scene of like the credits, is like drawing the symbol, like the swirly symbol that it was traced on it. So it's either like drawn on his desk when he shows up, or like it's in a note just like passed to him or something like that.
Anything else, Lilith?
Like one more shot of her being like awkward with Thomas as they walk in.
Right.
She's
good.
sort of like pointing out all the kids, like who they are and stuff. And when she gets to Sister Serina, she's like, "That's Serina. She has really nice collarbones." And then like goes to the next person, and that guy's probably like, "Okay."
I think Thomas, Serina and Jonah, you both recognize him instantly. It's that dark fae that you met.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together. Tell me.
If we do like introductions, like I greet him, but like I almost expect him to like, instead of like shaking hands, but have like the hand out like to kiss the ring or like type thing.
Yeah.
Like that's what I expect like him to do. But like I'll like.
I think he sees you. I think he's like, oh hey. He's like, he kind of like winks. He's like, you look a lot better right side up. And then he walks over to your desk, Jonah, and he's like, I think I want to sit here.
Where?
In your desk.
And I think I look around, and like everyone's like watching what I do.
He points at Alan's, where Alan usually sits. He says, "That one's free."
He gets up, but he just wants to know what Tony and Rhodey are thinking as he does this.
They are very confused. But they're also still really sad about Dawn, so they're probably not even focused on it.
Right. So yeah, he just shuffles over to
Alan's
Alan's
old
desk.
desk.
Like Jonah's probably just glaring.
I got to think of what the identifiable ring. Like, I kind of want like some sort of like. I either want to go super gaudy for the ring, so it's like really
I was
recognizable.
imagining like a ruby.
Yeah.
Like a
That's
ruby.
very vampire appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally prone to stereotypes, so
I love it. I love the
I
tropes.
stereotyped you.
Where's your red velvet cape, Serena? That's what I want.
Yeah.
Well, if you play nice, I'll show you.
Awesome. Which clan are you a part of?
I'm having one of those mornings where it's like I'm not awake enough to like lead myself in a scene.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
I've gotta take some initiative.
Yeah.
Over
Well,
here it's like 6:48 a.m.
I think I'm even more scared of going into the forest. I don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah, it'll be It'll be even more tense for you now. Like even before you're like, nah, I don't like the forest. Now you're like, oh shit.
Fuck no, I'm not going there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's the forest doesn't like me either. Yeah, I wanna find out what's going on with that Kyle kit, but we never really like have time to figure it out, right?
No, we
Yeah,
are
we
so
take
ignoring
zero.
Kyle.
One thing is I don't like about gaming in the morning is that I haven't eaten yet, so like my stomach is like rumbling, and I'm like worried it's gonna go over the mic.
Like as we got here, your dark power was like, "Welcome to the desert of the real."
Maybe not.